President Trump is threatening to deploy federal troops in major cities throughout the U.S. Take a look at this.
And then the police are afraid to do anything. I know New York very well. I know the police very well. New York's finest. And the fact is, they're restricted from doing anything. They can't do anything.
So what are you planning on doing?
Well, I'm going to do something that I can tell you, because we're not going to let New York and Chicago and Philadelphia, Detroit and Baltimore and all of these, Oakland is a mess. We're not going to let this happen in our country. All run by liberal Democrats.
More federal law enforcement to some of these cities?
More federal law enforcement, that I can tell you. In Portland, they've done a fantastic job. They've been there 3 days, and they really have done a fantastic job in a very short period of time. No problem. They grab them, a lot of people in jail. They're leaders. These are anarchists. These are not protesters. People say protesters. These people are anarchists. These are people that hate our country. And we're not going to let it go forward. And I'll tell you what, the governor and the mayor and the senators out there, they're afraid of these people. That's the reason they don't want us to help them. They're afraid. I really believe they're actually maybe even physically afraid of these people.
So the President of the United States is threatening to deploy federal agents into cities when those cities do not want that to happen. Yeah. If that's not authoritarian, I don't know what is. The federal government deploying federal agents, oftentimes, you can't tell what agency they're from. This is what was happening in Portland. They were just snatching peaceful protesters off the streets. He's threatening to do this in every major city. Okay. Are there even riots like there were in the immediate aftermath of the George Floyd killing these days? Maybe a handful here and there, but by and large, it's mostly just protests now. And it's certainly something that's within the purview of the state and local governments that they could take care of, and they have the ability to take care of. And also, that's people's First Amendment rights as long as they're not, doing violence. Then what's the problem? Guys, he's more focused on this, quelling the remnants of protests with federal agents, than he is controlling coronavirus. Like, the whole idea here is that, oh my God, there's no law and order and the streets are dangerous as a result of this. The streets are dangerous because of COVID-19. 144,000 Americans are dead because of COVID-19. Millions have had it and have long-lasting symptoms and effects that are really devastating. Hospitals in some places now are totally overrun. There's been a total lack of leadership at the federal level, and he's basically delegated all this stuff to the states when this is something that is within the purview of the federal government. And then when it comes to other things, like protests, where the state and local governments, they can handle that, he says, no, I'm going to send in federal agents. Look at how he rushes to get more involved to play Mr. Macho Man, tough guy, law and order. But then when he's needed, when it comes to coronavirus, when we need all the federal government's resources, he was late, and he's still making the wrong decisions. And he's like, I blame the governors. I blame the governors. Listen, nobody wants your unaccountable federal agents in these cities, and we know exactly how this will play out if he does deploy them. It's going to be exactly like Portland, where now you got a bunch of lawsuits coming in, because again, you had Department of Homeland Security agents dressed in camouflage, some people from the Border Patrol arresting protesters, chaining them up, saying they're being charged with a crime, then releasing them. These people don't have the authority to do the things that they're doing here. And this is a complete violation of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This guy one day goes out there and cries about cancel culture and says how much he loves free speech. And the next day he says, I want to ban flag burning with a year in jail. That's deeply anti-free speech. And I want to put people in prison for 10 years for defacing a monument or a statue or things of that nature. So Mr. Tough Guy Law and Order, he hates the protests so much, he wants to, destroy the Constitution, destroy the First Amendment, send out his federal thugs to take care of it, all at the same time as we have an economic depression and a pandemic still ripping through the country. His priorities are all out of whack. They're all messed up. He gets a steady diet of Fox News and One American News Network, so he has no clue whether he's coming or going. He doesn't know his ass from his elbow. He doesn't know how to lead. He doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. So he defaults to an authoritarian tendency. That's what we're seeing here. Keep your federal troops out of the cities. And for the love of God, acknowledge that if you get beaten in the election, you're stepping down. Because this shit is getting scary. He keeps flirting with these just outright authoritarian crackdowns. Insurrection Act, federal agents that are, you don't even know which agency they're from being deployed in the streets. Oh, all the polls are fake news and I'm definitely up, in the election. All these things, all these signs. And the scary thought is, yes, what happens if, the election comes, he gets defeated, and he's like, I think it's fake news. I don't believe it. And if you disagree, I don't care. I'm deploying my federal thugs to keep me in power. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ. I really hope this doesn't happen, guys. I'm not saying what the likelihood is of it happening. I'm just saying I really hope it doesn't happen. Because it's always, with him, Trump, it's always like you see the groundwork. You see the little hints dropped here and there. And it's just a terrifying thing. For the love of God, focus more on coronavirus. Focus on ending the depression and getting people stimulus checks. And this is what you have to do. But he's not going to do that. He doesn't care about that. He plays macho man tough guy because he thinks it'll help him more in the polls. But you'll see. He'll just go down even more because nobody wants this. Nobody wants the fear of an authoritarian crackdown of their country officially becoming a police state. Nobody wants that. So here he goes. Here he goes again, and it's going to hurt him yet again in the polls. And what a terrifying moment in U.S. history this is.